a lack of knowledge. Does that sort of answer the question, sort of? And thank you for the opportunity to tell my joke. The next question, there's a couple more. Yes. First one to the microphone answers the question. It's a race. Who's got it? The wavy in blue has won. Congratulations. Yes, go on.
My question is that does all the action will produce the karma? The second one is, does the enlightened person's action will produce any karma in the present and no more to be future already in the present?
Okay, does an enlightened person produce karma? Okay, karma. It's all about like wanting and doing things. Even this is an interesting point of Dhamma, which is a very fine point. I explained this in Singapore. I haven't explained it here yet. Tomorrow, when I talk about the stages of enlightenment, have you ever heard, for a stream winner, you can't get reborn in the lower realms, in the hell realms, in the ghost realms, in the animal realms? Why is that? Even though they've got the karma, they've done bad karma in the past, people like Angulimala, the karma is there. Why don't they go to those realms? The reason is, and actually the reason why people go to a hell realm, isn't that really cool that people can go to these hell realms? I'll tell you the reason why they go to hell. Because they think they deserve to go. Literally, you send yourself to those hell realms. Anyone who knows psychology knows that we punish ourselves because we think we deserve to be punished. There's a lot of ego and self in that self-punishment. Very often, as a monk, we say, please forgive yourself, forgive others. You find it very hard to forgive yourself and forgive others. You know why? Because of your sense of self. The more selfless you are, the easier it is to forgive both others and yourself. When you become a stream winner and you see no self, it is absolutely easy, obvious to forgive yourself and others. Angulimala forgave himself. Because of that, would no longer need to send himself down to those hell realms. The doors of hell are always open. A person can walk out at any time. It's only they don't think they deserve to walk out, which is why they stay there. Each one of you has sometimes lived in the earthly hells. You've done something terrible you feel so guilty about, or someone else has abused you, and you put yourself in that prison. You can walk out at any time. When you forgive yourself, you can let it go. You're free. The enlightened ones know how to free themselves of the old karma. That's why, they perform karma, but they can let it go at any time. That's why the karma they perform has got no results. They let it all go because they see non-self. Do you want to know what hell is? Sometimes people ask me that question. Are there hell realms in Buddhism? There are. And I'll tell you how you know. There's an old Zen story. I'm going to take it more deeper than is usually told. This old Zen story goes like this. We're going on a bit late, but it's a Friday. Are you working tomorrow? It's Christmas, isn't it? Yeah, okay, good. So we're going a bit later tonight. Is that okay? Okay. This old story about this samurai warrior. Like many samurais were very spiritual, very interested in religious things. So the samurai was wanting to find out whether there really is hell and heaven. He could never get a straight answer from anybody until he went up to this old meditation monk. He saw him sitting down there, and he went up to him. The samurai drew himself up because he was a proud warrior and said, "Venerable sir, you are a monk. You are honest. Please tell me, yes or no, whether there is heaven and hell. If you don't know, just say you don't know. But don't lie to me." And the monk looked up and said, You're too stupid to understand this. He'd insulted a samurai. The samurai said, Sir, I am not stupid. I have got a great education. I've been training for many years. I am a samurai. And the monk said, they don't make riff-raff like you into samurais. And the samurai got really upset. He said, Venerable monk, if you don't talk nicely to me, I'll chop off your head with my sword. And the monk said, you couldn't even slice bread with that sword. And that was it. The samurai got out of his sword and was about to strike the monk's head off when the monk looked up and said, that's hell. And the samurai understood, which was very lucky. The monk was really pushing his luck, I think. But the samurai understood, because that degree of hatred, of wanting to kill somebody, that actually is exactly what it feels like when you're in hell. Only it keeps going on again and again, moment after moment. Vindictiveness, punishment, self-punishment, guilt. That is what hell feels like. When you have these pictures on the temple walls or descriptions of people boiling in oil, that's just some way of describing it to you about what the pain feels like. But you should know right now in your life, whenever you get that angry and that upset, if that carries on and you get reborn in that state will carry on for many, many, many thousands of years, and that's what's called hell. In the same way, you can let go of that anger at any time, let go of that vindictiveness, forgive, not have this tit for tat, they killed me, I've got to kill them. You can walk out of hell at any moment with one act of forgiveness and letting go. That's why I say the doors of hell are open. Anyway, going back to the samurai was so impressed that he went down onto his knees and he bowed to the monk. He said, oh, at last I've got someone who's wise, who really knows what they're talking about. Oh, you're such a great monk. And the monk looked up at him and smiled and said, and that's heaven. Because that's what it feels like in heaven. When you're kind, when you're respectful, when you're soft and gentle. If that lasts again and again and again and again for thousands of years, that's what it feels like being up in heaven. Those states, when you leave this body, are so stable they can last a long, long time. That's what heaven is like. So that monk was incredibly smart. He wasn't just saying there's no heaven and hell except on earth. He was actually giving a description of what it's like and why it's like that. So that's why that people can relieve themselves from heaven at any time. Which is why that karma, you can actually let go of karma at any moment if you're enlightened. Okay, hope that answers the question. Yeah?
Dear Ajahn Brahm, I'd like to follow up with this question. Do you mean that before one's achieve enlightenment and see anatta, there is karma, but after one's become enlightened, there is no karma?
Okay, before enlightenment is karma, after enlightenment is karma, but you can let go of karma any time after enlightenment. So it is there, but you don't need to hold it and carry it around. You can let it go at any moment. You are free to let go. In the same way that people, something happened to you in the past, you did something wrong in the past. Why is it so hard to forgive other people? Why is it so hard to forgive yourself? If you understand the answer to that question, you understand when enlightened people find forgiveness incredibly easy. And it doesn't make sense to torture yourself or torture others because of some bad deed. You just completely let go. Then there's no suffering. You let go of karma. Karma is there, but you just don't carry it around anymore. You leave it on the ground. Yes, next question.
Yesterday you mentioned that the mind, or rather the description of the mind, is perhaps the biggest thing in the world, in the whole world, And all of us here, we possess a mind, which means that everyone's mind then will be crowding everybody's mind. Or is there a mastermind, so-called perhaps the universal intelligence, that governs all the other minds that exist? My next question is, you mentioned just now that there is actually no will because there's no self. And because there's no self, there is no will. Yet, we still have the will to walk out of hell if we so choose to. How do we contradict ourselves in that area?
Okay, first of all, that you are the mastermind. That's the first question. So am I. Each one of you is the same. There is no other mastermind above your mind. You are that mastermind. All the other beings exist in your mind. Whatever you can know can fit into that mind. Therefore it's a chief. The Buddha is in your mind. Okay, sit down. I haven't answered the other question yet. The second question is about, I never said the will doesn't exist. Now please listen carefully. The will is. You can actually see it happening. You can actually experience the will. What I'm saying is the will is not caused by you. It comes from somewhere else. It's not generated by the person who goes by your name. Now that's different there. The will is there. So you will do things. You will strive. You've got no choice. The point is, you say, where did this come from? Why did I do this? Now that's where I want you to look. Now that's what we mean. There is will, but it's a process. It doesn't come from a being. Which is why when that process goes to the stage of enlightenment, the will is free to forgive and let go. Okay, get up there and ask the other question. You better stay up there just in case.
Yeah, I think I better stay here. Now, you're saying that all the mind is within our own mind. In other words, am I right to infer that it is an integration of every mind that is in our mind? We mastermind the whole thing? Or in other words, are we the total essence of all that is available?
It's interesting. I don't know if you've ever lost a loved one and you feel very sad, the whole world is sad. As far as you're concerned.
Yes.
If ever you've fallen in love, the whole world is in love. The whole world is as happy. It's interesting that the whole world is coloured by you.
So it is actually just one essence that covers everybody?
Okay, as far as you're concerned, there's just the one essence, which is your mind. Now you stick to your mind and you stop getting involved in my mind.
Next question then. You were saying something to the extent that a mind or a thought can be supplanted into another person's mind, like in psychology, in advertisement. You will see this thought being generated to somebody else, and the person is then influenced towards doing what they have actually no intention about doing. Now, if a person is aware of this technique, like what we do very much in our society today, we have what we call the neuro-linguistic programming, we have the Silva mind controlling, we've got lots of other of these hypnotic methods and techniques that you're using. Now, if we're able to use such technology, are we at free will to do that, to superimpose this thought into somebody else's mind, to guide them along the way that we want them to?
I've been doing that ever since I came to KL.
We know you can do it, but can we as individuals also do the same thing?
You are doing it all the time, but sometimes we influence our friends, our relationships in wrong ways because of lack of compassion, lack of wisdom, because of delusion. So like those people who owned the San Bruno tobacco factory, they influence me in delusive ways. But this is the point. If you have wisdom and compassion, you can teach and you can actually change people. But people with power, if they haven't got wisdom and compassion, they do influence people in wrong ways. Look how many, they got the, rappers, like gangster rappers, and some of the lyrics which they say, they do influence people Anyone who says that violent movies or sexual movies don't influence people is absolutely rubbish. They do. They have to. You know the reason why. The whole psychology behind what you see is what you imitate. You may not believe this, when I was about 17 or 18, even though I wasn't into drugs, I still had long hair, had green velvet trousers and hippie beads. Because everyone had that. But I thought I was rebelling. I thought I was being an individual. Now one day I went to one of these rock festivals in the Isle of Wight. It was very traumatic for me, because I thought I was an individual, and then I found a couple of thousand other people with green velvet trousers and long hair just like me. It was just I wasn't rebelling, it was just another uniform, that's all. I had been completely conditioned. My uniform wasn't my own choice. I had been conditioned. Why is there such a thing called fashion? You're conditioned, that's all. Yeah, go on. Yeah, you had to say that, you're conditioned to say that. Try not saying it. So you can't do it. Aha. Okay. What the Buddha taught was the unconditioned. That's not a good phrase, because this is when you call the at sankata, the at is in linguistics called a privative prefix, which means like the lack of a conditioned world. When there's no conditioning there at all, then that's what he was talking about. The end of conditioning. And that's what I'm talking about now. To stop conditioning, yeah. To turn it all off. To let go. To cease. When everything disappears. There's nothing left to be conditioned. When all your will stops. So there's nothing to condition or be conditioned. Understand? No, you don't. Okay, another question. Yes, come on.
Ajahn Brahm.
Yeah.
I actually always have this confusion in myself where following the Buddhist teaching of being no self, choosing the middle path, and being irresponsible and with no goal of because there's no self. So what do I need to do? I no need to care on anything.
Okay.
So can you please explain?
Yes, you have no choice except to care. You've been completely conditioned. You have to care. You have to strive. You have to be responsible. You've been completely conditioned to be so. So please, be responsible. The Buddha tells you to, so you have to follow your conditioning. Now that's it. When people try to outthink these things, they don't realize actually just what we're talking about here. There is such a thing called will. There is responsibility. There is effort. There is compassion. And you can see that happening. The point of non-self is seeing where that is coming from. This is why the Buddha's taught in the world. You know, one of the most powerful events of the Buddha's enlightenment was just after he became enlightened. Brahma Sahampati came down and asked him to teach. If Brahma Sahampati hadn't given that conditioning to the Buddha would have been a appichato Buddha, would not have taught. At that time, after enlightenment, the will to do has been so subdued that you do need some input from outside, some seed, to get that will going again. Literally, the Buddha had no choice just after his enlightenment. He needed Brahma Sahampati, the great God Sahampati, to come down and ask him to teach. And from that we had Buddhism today. So as one of my novices in Perth said, thank God for Buddhism. God being Bhava Sahampati.